Hello, hello.
So with anybody popping on here, if you have any questions throughout the process, go ahead and let us know. But today we are making chocolate cake. And this chocolate cake is the base recipe for all of my chocolate cakes, whether it's a chocolate ganache cake. We did a chocolate Italian ricotta filled cake the other day. So many different options. German chocolate cake, which is many people's favorites. And I would love to hear your guys' favorite chocolate cakes too, or your different versions of chocolate cakes. But this recipe, I'm going to show you guys how to make these chocolate cake. Super simple, very easy recipe. I make everything gluten-free and dairy-free. You can use full gluten and full dairy products as always. And you can see we have that bounce factor here. These cakes are really moist, so delicious, and really infused with that chocolate. And let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna come over here and do everything by the mixer. The first thing I'm gonna do is get the coffee started. Now, one of the most common questions I have on pretty much all my chocolate cakes, because again, they're all really the same recipe, is does it taste like coffee? No, the coffee is going to enhance the chocolate flavor, and that's all we're looking for. And a lot of people will also ask, can they use decaf versus regular caffeinated coffee? Absolutely, use your favorite coffee. As you can see, I made one earlier, prepping for that. So we're just gonna get that going and set that back here, and let's go ahead and start on the cake. So I do have the full recipe attached to this video. It should be down in the description. Any questions on it, again, you can always send me a message and I'll get back to you right away on it. We're starting with all of our liquid ingredients. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can always use a hand mixer, and we're gonna use a whisk today. So this recipe is a little bit different because it is a little bit more simple as far as we're gonna add all the liquids and then incorporate the dry ingredients. So starting with the liquids, we have half a cup of vegetable oil. If you don't have vegetable oil, canola oil works really well. Half a cup there. And I got my eggs over here. Let me grab those. We need 2 large eggs. And ideally, when you're baking, the eggs should be room temp, but it's not a must when it comes to cakes here. Two of those. And I like to get the coffee going right up front so I don't forget it. I tend to forget things. So if you guys have seen any of my lives, you'll always notice there's always something missing. It's always like a modified recipe because I forgot something. And I did because we need sour cream. Let me grab the sour cream. I knew I was forgetting something. Running around, we're going live on Instagram after this, doing cinnamon rolls, so I was doing both recipes at the same time. So we have 5 ounces of sour cream. Again, I'm using dairy-free. You can use full dairy. A good substitute for sour cream. Here's a few different options. You could use a Greek yogurt. Just make sure that it's a plain flavor. You could use a dairy-free yogurt. I would not recommend an almond milk based dairy-free just because it's a little bit more watery and it's not going to give the cake the right fluffiness, if you want to say, on there.
The bounce factor.
The bounce factor, yeah, that is very key when you're talking about a good cake. And you don't want it to be all dense and awkward. I mean, cake is, should be fluffy and moist and rich and delicious and all the goodness. Okay, so let's see. So another substitute is bananas. If you like the flavor of bananas, and if you've ever had a banana chocolate, but what am I trying to say? Banana bread with chocolate, it kind of has that same style flavor. You'll taste the banana if you sub it out for this. Okay, so we have 5 ounces of sour cream, half a cup of vegetable oil, 2 eggs. We are going to add in our espresso because I really want to get that infused in there. Now the espresso is optional. The espresso is optional. It's 1 teaspoon, and it's just an espresso powder. The reason that I like it is it really enhances, again, the flavor of the chocolate. That's really what coffee is going to be doing. It's not about the flavor of coffee. It's not about the flavor of espresso. It's just about enhancing that chocolate flavor. And that's the most important part. Okay, let me just make sure I have everything for liquids. Yes, we do. So the only thing you're going to see that I don't have for liquids is the coffee. We add that in at the very last minute. Lock that in. And we're using a whisk. And let's go ahead and get that turned on. So this method of adding in the espresso right in the beginning is kind of like the same method if you're doing a cake or a cookie recipe where you're beating the butter and the sugar together for 5 minutes. And if you're making it like a citrus base, you're adding in that lemon zest, orange zest, anything like that. You're really just infusing that sugar, which is going to be throughout the cookie or whatever you're making. The espresso is doing the exact same thing. We just really want to wake up those flavors and make sure that it gets infused through the entire cake. The liquid part, it's okay to go high on. Once we do the dry ingredients, we want to mix until just incorporated. One of the biggest things that can be done incorrectly on baking is overmixing. It's just like pancakes. You don't want to overmix. All right, now we're going to add in.
Let's take a look at, just so we can see what the mixed version looks like.
Yep, it's all mixed together there. Oh, and I did forget the vanilla. I knew I was forgetting something. So we're doing 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And now let's add in our dry ingredients. So we have 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. We're going to do 2 cups of sugar. I can't believe I'm almost out of sugar again. You can tell I've been baking a lot. This was full this week. All right, and now for our chocolate. I like to use a darker premium cocoa. That's just going to make it a little bit more rich using a better quality. Pretty much anything in baking, the higher quality ingredients that you use, the better the outcome is going to be on the dessert. Man, I can't talk today. Okay, so we have, I think it's 3/4. Yep, 3/4 cup. And I already pre-measured that, so I know that that's 3/4. Our flour. If you're using gluten-free flour, I recommend using a 1-to-1 mix. It just makes it easier. It's an all-around, all-purpose style flour for baking. Okay, so we need 2 cups. And you can see I'm just bouncing it off there. I don't want to just do that because that can compact it in. We want to make sure it's loose. If you ever packed it in there, it's going to be more than the 2 cups or more than that serving. So doing it a little bit loose, you're keeping that flour a little bit more airy. And it's kind of like the same thing of measuring it or weighing it. I mean, weighing is going to be the most exact measurement, but I'm all about simple baking. I don't want to complicate this any more than it needs to be. To me, baking should be fun, it should be enjoyable, and I guess it depends on your level of enjoyment. Mine is not measuring because that just means I'm going to make a mess. Okay, so we need 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and then 1.5 teaspoons of our baking powder. I've modified this recipe so many different times between baking powder, baking soda, and just different measurements there, trying to get the flavor, the rise, and everything correct on it. So I feel like this is pretty much nailed it because this is my go-to cake that everyone asks for. All right, so then we just like to do a last rundown. We have our flour, our cocoa powder, our sugar, baking powder, baking soda, sour cream, kosher salt, vegetable oil, espresso powder. Our coffee will be going in last, eggs, and vanilla. So now we are going to mix this. Start off slow because you don't want it to all just puff up in your face and make a massive mess. Oh my, I've done that so many times. My dog Tank is always just waiting right here for me, so the moment that I do it, he can just lick it up. And then we're just going to crank it up a little bit. Drop it, scrape the sides, and now we're going to add in the coffee. So you can see it's almost like brownie, like a brownie batter. But we just want to make sure that nothing is caught on the sides in the beaters. And I like to make my coffee in this, although whenever I, pour it in, I swear I still make a mess. But it's 1 cup of hot coffee. Lift this, again, start off slow because this will splatter. And then we're going to slowly increase. Okay, and that'll just take a minute for it to get off the beater. And the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and prep it for the oven. So our oven is preheated to 350 degrees. You'll want to make sure that your rack is in the middle of the oven so it bakes evenly. Just scrape this off some. It's cut in the beater just a little bit. Just do it that way. And today, so we're going to decorate a cake, but with this batch, I'm going to do cupcakes. I have a fun new idea for cupcakes. I want to do like a cannoli style cupcake. And I'm just watching it because I want to make sure that we don't overmix it. And we are about done. This is where you can really crank it up. Everything's off. You can see it's well mixed. Okay, so I'm just going to let that just settle, drop a little bit, and let's go ahead and prep our cupcake tin. So this, I normally do 2 8-inch cakes. This will make, I believe it's 36 cupcakes. So I'm going to just get a few going here. And if you don't want to use cupcake liners, go ahead and just use a nonstick baking spray. Spray your muffin tin. And for making sure that they're done, you're just going to use the toothpick method right in the middle. As soon as it comes out almost like 99% clean, then it's done. You'll still have a little bit of chocolate on there because this cake is moist. It is so, so good. Okay, let's get that out of the way. And I'm just going to do one more scrape down. You just always want to make sure that you scrape the sides And you can see that is looking perfect. What's your favorite style cupcake, Joe?
I mean, chocolate's good. You know me, chocolate fiend.
Yeah, you are a
Chocolate with chocolate frosting and a piece of chocolate on top.
Well, I think we can make that happen. I was thinking about doing a German chocolate cupcake too. Yeah, German chocolate I would say is my favorite, although I did just make a cannoli cake and that was pretty tasty.
So do you use the scooper just to keep the sizes the same, or?
I do, so I like to use an ice cream scooper pretty much for everything when it comes to measurements on baking. It just makes sure that you're getting the correct amount, so then one cupcake, or if you're using this for cookies, anything like that, that one is not baking faster than the other ones. And it also helps just make sure that if a recipe says that it's going to do, let's say, 36 cupcakes, that it's actually going to do 36 cupcakes. Because when somebody, recipe developer, puts that down, they're measuring everything out really evenly. All right, we are going to pop these in the oven here. And we're doing the center rack. We're going to place them in the center as well, and then just let that go. I will finish these ones later on. And now we're going to go ahead and decorate our cake. Get this out of the way. So today we are going to make one of my favorite cakes of all time. This actually used to be, we gotta slice the tops. This actually used to be the cake that my mom would make me for my birthday every year. And it is a, I'm having a blank, a black cherry, or a black cherry, Black Forest cake. Man, my brain is just, I'm telling you, I'm too focused on the dessert. I'm ready for her piece. It's been a hot minute. Now
Are you going to hold that up to your face like the Silence of the Lambs thing?
Yeah. No.
Oh, come on.
Maybe next time. Maybe for Halloween. All right, so this is just to make it even, and it doesn't have to be exact. Well, it does if you're, going for the perfection look on baking. I should say that because some people make some incredible cakes, and it is all about getting those layers and everything right. But I'm not using a turntable, nothing like that. We're just keeping it simple. This one.
Yeah, I see they make a knife that has like guides for the height, so it's just the perfect height every time.
Yeah, I do have that.
Oh, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that you have that.
I do
and
have
also
that.
shocked that you have that and don't use it.
Yeah. I buy all the gadget stuff and then I use it once in a while. If I'm doing something that it has to be, I don't know, I've used it once. Who am I kidding? I don't use that stuff. I would call it a country cook, country style baker. I like to keep it raw and pretty.
Only uses measuring cups and stuff now because she has to for you guys.
Yeah, I've never used measuring cups. So that's actually really funny because when my girlfriends were talking me into, getting on social media and sharing my recipes, actually just came up that it was 3 years ago. I can't believe, or was it 3 years ago that, I don't know. It was a hot minute ago, 3-4 years ago, let's say. Yeah, that was the hardest part, was just writing down the recipe, because you can't say a pinch of that, do a couple dashes of that, and then mix it together. If that doesn't taste right, add a little bit of this. You actually have to measure everything out. And that was a struggle for a while. Like major struggle for me. Okay, so let me think of how I want to do this because it has been a little while. Normally I would pipe this on here, which actually let's do this. We're going to do a layer of chocolate frosting. I do have my chocolate frosting recipe in the bottom there. And you can pipe this on if you want it to be nice and pretty.
Man, that sunshine's coming through the window at just the right time.
Yeah. It's so wild doing these lives and it's not dark out. Normally at this time it would be pitch dark out. So when I'm smoothing this on, because I'm going to add a layer of cherries and I don't want those cherries to go over the edge, I'm just going to create a little wall with the frosting. This is kind of a decorating hack, if you want to say, if you don't want to pipe. So you can see I'm just creating a wall to make sure that cherry does not come out of the sides. And then you can either, I have a recipe on my website, The Salty Cooker, for homemade cherry filling on the actual Black Forest cake. But I do like sheets too. I think this makes it a lot easier. Again, baking should be fun, and pie filling was on sale, so why not? I always keep it on hand because sometimes I just get that craving for elephant ears. So it's just like you can make, you know, quick elephant ears and then throw some of this on top. Or crepes. Ooh, crepes do sound good. Okay, so we have that down. And now you can put this face side up or down. I'm gonna do the cut side down. So then I have a smooth surface on top to work with. And then when you're smoothing out your frosting, it won't catch as much on the crumbs. And now we're gonna just do the exact same thing. With the Black Forest cake, you can also do a whipped cream in between the layers. That is so delicious. That's more if you're gonna serve it right away. But again, this chocolate cake is great for cupcakes. So you can do any kind of topping on it that you want. I just saw chocolate cake with cream cheese frosting. That sounds really interesting. I would have never thought of a combo like cream cheese and chocolate, but I mean, it makes sense because you have like cheesecake with hot fudge topping on it, which that recipe will be coming out soon too. So are you going to share this one with the neighbors, Joe? Or are you keeping this one for yourself?
I mean, I'd like to pretend that I could eat all that myself and not die. So
Now, I've
I'll
seen you
probably
do it.
share it. Yeah, back in my heyday, I could do it, but
Yeah, this with a gallon of ice cream.
yeah.
That was Joe's go-to dessert. I would just make, we go to Sam's Club, get like 10 things of vanilla ice cream. I'd make Joe a chocolate cake, and this would be his dessert for like a couple days.
She's exaggerating. It was 7 gallons of ice cream, not 10.
You can also do this with a sheet cake. That's a really popular one and a really great one for entertaining. We have Easter coming up, so anyone watching this ahead of time for holidays, birthday parties, anything like this, this is actually my go-to chocolate cake for anybody's birthday too. So
Anybody who likes chocolate.
anybody who likes chocolate, yes. And another good recipe for frosting, again, it's right on my website, thesaltycooker.com, is peanut butter frosting with it. So you got your chocolate peanut butter. That is really good. Okay. rest of this on top, and we're gonna finish this bad boy up here. And I'm gonna do the same thing that I did for the bottom or the center section. I'm just going to create a little frosting wall here. And again, this is just a really quick version, obviously, of decorating. A trick on actually decorating, my girlfriend and I were just talking about this. If you set the cake in the fridge with the frosting, especially dairy-free frosting, because dairy-free butter tends to run and get soft really quickly, throw it in the fridge while you're working on it. So like I would get all this part, let's say the sides, the top done, and then I would go ahead and throw it up in the fridge, let it sit for half hour or so, pull it back out, and then finish decorating. Now we're going to add some cherries on top. And as you can see, I mean, super simple. You can always use jarred frosting as well. It's hard to beat some of those frostings. There we go. So we have chocolate cake. It's a universal chocolate cake. You can make it gluten-free, dairy-free. I mean, pretty much any way that you want. You can use different frostings, cupcakes, sheet cake, layered cake. If you wanted to do a 3-tier, you could do 6-inch pans, and then that would take 3 of those. You ready to cut into this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, normally, again, I would let this sit for a hot minute, but we are going to dig into this bad boy. Grab a paper towel. Try to get a pretty shot here. Okay. And there we go. So we have our Black Forest chocolate cake done. You can see it's fluffy yet moist. I mean, it has all the elements that we're looking for in it. It is so, so delicious. It's very rich. This one's a little bit hard to see right there. Let me show you one of these pieces here. You can see that the bounce factor, that's what we're looking for. Yeah, without tearing it up too much there. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, please comment below. You can always send me a message. I would love to hear your guys' favorite versions of cakes. Any recipes that you're looking for, just let me know.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.